Season 2, Episode 2 of Beyond the Bliss podcast. My name is Dani. I am the host and founder here of Beyond the Bliss, and I'm just so grateful that you trusted your body's wisdom in having it lead you to this episode for us to meet here in our frequencies together today. So, today I am inspired to record a solo episode, which always gets me a little bit nervous because I do feel that sometimes I get a little scattered and it's nice to have someone kind of reel me back in. So I love the dialogue of two people or three or four or five or six or seven. But when it's me by myself, sometimes I feel like nervous, right? In that fear of like, where do I go? What am I even going to say for a whole episode? It's a little terrifying, but with the series of events that laid out for this episode to be created, there was space for me to hop on and record by myself because just some other things weren't working out. And I feel that sometimes when we think things aren't working out, they are in fact just absolutely working out in our favor and pushing us into something that might be even more expansive and even more in alignment. So here we are. I find it kind of silly to have to record an intro and drop in the theme music just to introduce myself, for how my episodes usually go. So I'm going to start off with just a few announcements and reminders, and then we'll get right into the conversation. So, Beyond the Bliss Season 2, for those who didn't catch Episode 1, it's amazing. You have to check it out. We spoke with Zamir, who's a 3-5 splenic, not splenic, and I'm forgetting that I'm on unedited, so I can't edit things out. So let me pause and slow down, and it's okay to correct myself. Zamir is a 3-5 self-projected projector. And thank you so much, Zamir. I have to honor you one last time for helping me and supporting me in kicking off Season 2. It was absolutely amazing. I know that a lot of people that shared some of the similar aspects of Zamir's chart really found value in listening to that episode. So it just makes me more excited and more inspired to keep creating in this space with all of you. So just a few little reminders about Season 2. We're still interviewing all the amazing people in the holistic healing community, spiritual community, personal growth, leadership, all the things. We are just adding a little bit of human design into the mix. So not only is Season 2 going to have more depth and more vulnerability, but it will also provide an opportunity for more education, more learning. So if you are curious about learning about human design, this is a wonderful place for you to be. Thank you for being here. I am a 1-3 splenic projector on the right angle cross of the unexpected. So if you have any of those aspects in your design, you might love to keep listening and just hear a little bit about my story and my journey, because today I'm really wanting to show up as the me that I am here today, the most authentic version of self. And it feels so good. And I feel so embodied and so empowered. And I'm really ready to start speaking about all of the layers of my past journey that have been shed because I held them and hid them for so long. So that's really going to be the vibe for today, you guys. And I'm so excited to get into it. But I just want to remind you, if you're interested in learning more about human design aside from the podcast, I am in a group with 3 other women. We're called the Quantum Collective. You can follow us online at quantum_collective. We also have a website, www.ruquantum.com. Keep in the loop with us, you guys. We have retreats coming up very soon, workshops, seminars, all the things. We're really excited. If you are interested in looking into my services, you can always head to my Instagram account at Desert Moon Yogi. I just launched my website today, so I'm really excited. Spirit really urged me a couple days ago and said, "What are you doing? Get your website up and billboard, show people what you're here to offer through all of your embodiment and wisdom that is now here." So I'm really excited about that. If you guys want to check that out, you can always head down to the show notes where I link all of Quantum Collective's information, all of Beyond the Bliss's information. And this episode, I'm going to list all of my information because I am the star of the show today. So I have my tea here. I'm just drinking some of my chaga elixir from Four Sigmatic. Those who have been following me for a while, you probably know a lot about Four Sigmatic. I am not sponsored by them, but I am partnered with them as an affiliate, and it is an absolute blessing to be a part of their team and all that they are serving the world with. The chaga elixir has chaga mushroom, which is so supportive for the immune system. All of their products have just the most nutrient dense foods in the world that are going in to nourish and support your body for just health and that thriving that we all are so capable of. So if you're ever interested in checking them out, I always, since episode 1, season 1, have been putting my discount code down below in the show notes as well. You save 10%. It saves a little bit. It helps. And if you have questions on which products, let me know. So all my affiliate stuff is down below. I'm trying to think if there's any other announcements. I don't really feel like there's anything you guys need to be aware of this time. I just wanted you to know that you can reach me or all the members of the Quantum Collective at the links provided below. Keep on the lookout for just services and things coming up because we're expanding and it's really exciting. Season 2 is going to have new episodes every new and full moon, so just look out for that twice a month. We're really excited and yeah, I don't think there's anything else. I don't want to inundate you guys with updates and blabbers about all the random things, right? Let's just dive into the topic. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about, but we're here, you guys. We're here. So I think I want to start off by just stating an affirmation that has been offered to me in the past couple of days, and it has been really incredibly powerful. And that affirmation is, I am my authentic self. I am my authentic self. I am my authentic self. And it's really funny because it's just funny the tools I'm using now, and affirmations being one of them, because I remember being I had started on my spiritual awakening. I completed a yoga teacher training. I touched this love and light that felt so amazing. And then I had to come back and drop into the darkness, into the void many, many, many more times to really shed these deep layers of myself. And sometime after my yoga teacher training, which I completed the training in 2018, so in 2019 is when I started to manifest loads of health issues. And I had, among other things, just such intense depression and anxiety that I felt so trapped in. There was just nothing I could do at the time with what I had, right? The resources I had, the abilities I had for myself. There was nothing that I could do to pull myself just up a little. I was feeling very hopeless, and I remember how much affirmations pissed me the fuck off. Like, I was so triggered by affirmations because I was like, this is so stupid. You're telling me with this hell that I live in right now to just say, I am love. I am my authentic self. Like, get the fuck out of here, please. What are you talking about? And that was my bitter but very real and very valid perspective, because yeah, these tools are just that. They're tools, but they're not like the end all be all, and they can't pull us out of those dark places always, you know? If we're in that dark space, sometimes we just have to sit there, and that's what I didn't really understand at the time. And of course, now I'm so grateful that I was in that little hell or prison, I like to call it. It was a very challenging time of my life, but it expanded me into so many possibilities, and I'm just so grateful for it. But I remember feeling so incredibly triggered by affirmations. Like, I just I'm going to keep going. So it's just funny that today I'm really feeling and understanding and knowing the power in affirming something from my voice, from my soul, from my vessel, out my mouth, and pouring that frequency into the space that surrounds me, and hearing it back and letting it hit my body and letting myself be reminded of these things that I am. I am my authentic self. And I want to talk about why this affirmation is actually important to me and why it was so monumental. So, I just completed my Holy Fire 3 Reiki Master Attunement um, on Saturday. Today is Monday. I know you guys probably don't know what day it is because, right, we're all listening to this at different times, although we are all here in the same moment. So 2 days ago, I completed my Reiki Master, and it was so incredibly life changing and monumental to myself in this lifetime and what I'm here for. So I'm so grateful that I was able to step into that. And in one of the days of the attunement, we went through an authentic self kind of initiation, or as the Reiki was working through us, the intention was to rediscover or remember or return back to the authentic self. And that's really kind of what we're all doing here in this lifetime, you know? I think it sounds silly when you really think about it, like, in this 3D world, on this polarity planet, being a human, you know, aside from as far out as we can go into the woo-woo, just to tangibly think about that, like, the fact that we have to remind ourselves of who we are and that we're our authentic self kind of sounds a bit silly, I think. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but it does sound silly. But it's so necessary. Like, if we could understand all of the frequencies and the things going on that we just can't see, touch, taste, hear, or feel, I think we would give ourselves a bigger break for everything that we shift through. But returning back home to the authenticity of my soul, of my higher self, is why we're here. You know what I mean? We enter into this lifetime in our pure form, you know, for the most part. Obviously, we all come in with a little bit of baggage. You know, there is karma and energetic wounding and things going on in the womb space of women. We carry this generational karma that gets passed down to our children. And so, yeah, we come in with a little bit of that baggage already, but essentially we are our authentic selves when we enter onto this planet. We are. And it's beautiful. And then, you know, we go through this phase of receiving projections and going through our experiences that make us afraid. You know, that fear comes in, and fear is such a powerful frequency. And I don't mean powerful as like expansively powerful. I mean, it's so powerful, like it can really take over you. It's at least in my experience, it has absolutely been a journey to move from fear into love and transmute that fear into love. It ain't easy. So we pick up these stories and this conditioning and this shame, right? the shame that says my authentic self is not acceptable. My authentic self is shameful. My authentic self will deny me of love, and my authentic self is something that I need to hide away and lock away and change, and and abandon, because I don't want abandonment. So I must abandon my authentic self so I can be accepted by these people in this world, so I can survive. And that sounds pretty heavy, but that's what it's like as a child. We learn these things that tells our subconscious that we're not worthy and we can't be who we are. So we cover those things up, and then we go off into the world, right? And the journey is to return back to that authenticity, to return back to that authenticity. And I hear so much from just everyone, the collective, everyone in my environment, and I know this because I've lived this my whole life, but I hear so much that we're chasing healing. We're chasing the growth. We're chasing, the treasure at the other side for moving through the darkness, or we're wanting to accomplish and do and force and push. And I just hear this a lot in the spiritual community where, people will compare themselves, or they'll say, I really should be doing this more. Or, I know that I'm here, but I'm working on it. And I'm trying to get to this place and I'm doing the work. And, we all go through this of trying to validate the reason why we're not further than we are right now, here in this moment. And my question to you is why? 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 Just why? Why do you feel that? This is a question I've been asking myself in the past years. Why do you not want to be right where you are? And why are you trying to achieve being something greater than who you are now? Because that returning back to our state of authenticity, that's the journey. That's literally why we're here, you guys. We're here. It's so purposeful. I mean, all humans, I have yet to meet one, we all have closed our hearts off, and we did this and we grew up, and the gene keys talk about this. There is a sequence that shows you the exact reason why and when and how you closed your heart down, and there's a sequence to start at the outer ring and move back to the center to revisit those lessons and clear some of the pain, the shame, the guilt. So it's so purposeful. Like, we're supposed to be on this journey of remembering and returning. And I feel like if we all understood that a little bit deeper, then we would have a lot more honor and a lot more gratitude and a lot more grace for exactly who we are right now. I feel like if we knew that, we would celebrate every tiny win. And I feel like we would also celebrate those times of darkness and the void and the uncomfortability, and those spaces are so tough. I know that. I know that. I lived there for so long and I know how difficult they can be. And I also know that a lot of my life, so many years. I mean, probably almost all of them, that I can consciously remember. I'm sure as a child it was different, but most of my adult life, I was running from the past and I was chasing the future and I was trying to get after my healing. And I want to be clear that I don't have regrets for anything that I did. I also believe that everything I shifted through was so purposeful for me to share these stories, to share these experiences, for people that need to hear them for their own lives, wherever they're at in their journey. And that's I'm firm in knowing that everything that happened in my reality was absolutely perfect and necessary. And I'm wanting to model that for all of you and have you learn through my experiences. And that really is to start dropping some human design wisdom. That really is the third line. So like I said, I am a 1-3 profile. So my personality is the first line. My body pulls me into that third line frequency of trial and error and getting it wrong hundreds and thousands of times sometimes before I can get it right. Because I get to, build these incredible foundations and learn these lessons and go out into the field and really bump into a lot of different things that not everybody would want to bump into. So that's the beauty of the third line, is knowing that we can support others through all of our trial and error and experiences, just to help people that are, currently shifting through this, who may shift through these things in the future, or whatever. We're just here to share that and be relatable in that. So anyone who has a third line, or anyone who knows a third line, I mean, you're probably somebody who is so incredibly relatable. There's probably nothing you haven't tried. So you are going to be that person that can really help lift someone up when they're in that space of feeling like nothing is working out, because we've been there, right? This is where the third line lives. And I can talk about this confidently now, but to be vulnerable and talk about my past, no, I had a lot of shame for the third line, a lot of shame for the third line until very recently, probably like a couple months ago. I mean, it was definitely this year that I was really starting to understand consciously that, all that I've moved through is a gift. And, over the weekend, I feel that I really shed a lot of those stories from my actual subconscious body. So I do feel more embodied in these lessons. And that's why that I am my authentic self affirmation is so powerful for me right now, because it's really easy to fall back into where we came from. And there's nothing wrong with it. But as we start to kind of transmute some of those lower vibrational frequencies, like fear and shame and guilt and, all those things, that are living in our body and dimming our aura and affecting our cells and our truth and our authenticity, right? Once those start to transmute and really fall away, yeah, we get to rise above it. We rise above, and I mean, we rise above it after we have moved through the lesson. But I know you guys can probably pick up on this with me. Like, as we continue to grow and evolve and shed and, return back to the real us, it's still like we still get pulled in to those lower frequencies and the shadow and all those things are, it's almost like they come after us even more, and I think that's a common misconception with the spiritual journey, is we feel that, okay, I've evolved, so now everything's going to be easy. And it's not always easy. It's definitely not always easy. And we're still going to get pulled down into the void and into the darkness when we are there to go back and revisit and acknowledge what has happened to us, so that we can learn the lesson and we can clear it. Learn the lesson and we can clear it. But aside from that, those denser frequencies that most of the world lives in, I mean, the third dimensional frequency, it's very dense. It's dense. The way one of my mentors explained this to me very recently is like, you know, all of those dense frequencies live in a very small container, and they're just so heavy. So it's like, because it's stuck in this smaller space, it's just so dense. So it's actually very difficult to pull yourself up out of those. So just to provide that, so you have some compassion, not only for yourself, but for the people in your lives that may be having a difficult time with this. The way one of my mentors explained this, and it was so beautiful, and I love this, Ankara Rose. I'm not sure if she listens to my podcast, but I'm going to shout you out anyways. She said, imagine if you had a wheelbarrow and you lived on a farm, and, you have to take the wheelbarrow down this path every morning. after taking that path for so long, you're going to start to have kind of like those grooves in the earth, in the ground from the wheels, because you've taken this path so many times. So of course it's going to be really easy to wheel down into those grooves and keep following this path that's laid out, and it just right. And then when we try to go up a little higher out of that path, it's still manageable to wheel the wheelbarrow above those grooves, but it's very easy to fall back down into that indentation. And so that was kind of the visual representation she gave me for those denser frequencies that most of the world lives in. Even when we rise above and we come to that higher ground, it's so easy to be pulled back in. And so I'm really understanding through all of the things that I'm a part of, and through all of the wisdom that's now been, synthesized and embodied, that yeah, it's the growth or the authenticity or just fully stepping into all of who you are. It's not a destination that you reach. I always thought it was. It's not a destination that you reach. It's you do the work to clear, to shed, to rise above. But then we have to make the space. We have to make the space to attune ourselves to those frequencies, to connect ourselves to those higher frequencies that we've touched, that we know exist, that we're trying to exist in. And what that looks like for you may be different than what it looks like for me, but I'll throw some examples. Through the guidance of my Priestess of the Rose mentorship, we've really been practicing this, and it happened today. I was feeling fatigued and unmotivated, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when I look back at my past, I used to let myself stay fatigued and motivated and on the couch or in the bed for days because I didn't understand that I had the power to shift that, and that those densities weren't always me. And sometimes they are. Sometimes the denseness and the heaviness and the fatigue and the lack of motivation and the negative thoughts and all of those things, sometimes those things pop in so we can acknowledge something, so the lesson can be learned, so we can shut it, so we can move forward and rise above. And sometimes all of those things coming in are way greater than we could ever understand. They could be anything from, they just could be anything. And a lot of times it's not us. It's not us. And that's what I'm really learning is, today I was just like, I'm just sitting there like, I'm so bored. I want to do stuff, but I can't move my body. And I got myself upstairs. I got in the shower, and I heard these messages, you guys, because I'm learning to, um, I've been really practicing channeling and discerning what voices come in are mine, what are channeled messages, what are thoughts from others in my open head center. I have a completely open head, and an open head, open ajna. So lots of thoughts flood in there. And yeah, let's go there. I was gonna go somewhere else, but I'm gonna go to the open head real quick and talk about that. So a lot of us that have open head center, well, anyone that has an open head center, sometimes those thoughts really aren't ours. They're not ours. They're not ours. So if you have an open head, you're going to hear all these things, and it can drive you crazy. It can cause some deep, dark anxiety or anxious fears, or just a lot of pain and uncomfortability and suffering. And I know in my experience, this has been a huge center for my anxiety and restlessness and all the things. I used to let all of my open centers rule my life, but especially the open head center. And through experimenting with human design and really finding tools for me to understand like who is speaking, listening to the tones of the voices, questioning those voices that come in, and looking inside of myself, because if a negative thought comes in or something flies into the head through the open head center, we're talking about human design now, so if it flies into the head and comes into the open head center, We get to question those voices. We don't always have to allow them to take our power away. We get to question them and we get to say, is that true about me? Is that who I am? Is that my authentic self? And if it's a hard no, like it's not, and find something for yourself that you can pull yourself back into the present moment and remind yourself that it's not you. And that's why for me, um, you know, I literally in my Reiki attunement, I had a death and rebirth, and in the channeled visions that I received myself, I literally saw my own funeral. My higher self put the monster that I had once believed I was for a very long time, it put that piece of me to rest, and it was beautiful and so powerful. And one of the girls that worked on me as well, she saw this amazing like shamanic ritual of my higher self, like yes, putting this me to rest and allowing her to transition and transmute and return back to love. And it was so powerful and so uplifting. And then, yeah, and then the next day, it was like I was pulled into this darkness again that I almost let really control me and pull me off my trajectory. And I remembered the I am my authentic self affirmation that my teacher offered us in the class, in the training. And I wrote it on my mirror, and it is on my mirror. And I told you guys, I used to hate affirmations so much, and I've really, really witnessed the power of when I get pulled into that dark state of it starts with I am my authentic self and really affirming that out loud a few times. And then I feel like even just saying that pulls me into the frequency of my highest self, of my true self, of my authenticity. And I'm able to then remind me who I am and that those things are not me and they're not coming in, and I love you, but I'm closing the door, and this is who I am. My heart is open. I am in love. I am not that anymore. And then, if we affirm that I am my authentic self, and then we get to be honest too, be honest with ourselves. And sometimes our body still believes those things. I know that there's probably still many, many things that I have to shed in this lifetime. I can't think of any at the moment. Obviously, they have to kind of come up in the moment for me. Um, but that's when we get to be honest with ourselves, and I feel like that is really when human design, using human design in your life, when you can be the most honest with yourself and the most vulnerable with yourself. I mean, you don't ever have to share this information with anyone else, but the honesty with yourself is what is going to enrich your life the most, is by being honest with yourself. And I mean, if someone says a hurtful thing to you, or you hear a negative thought pattern, when you're scrolling on social media and comparing yourself, and these voices come into the mind, whether you have an open head or not, we get to look at those things and we get to say, that's not me. And remind ourselves of that. Or, we can try, I did this through EMDR therapy last year. I was given a ton of different affirmations in the sessions. I don't know if anyone's gone through EMDR therapy. I have a podcast episode on it. The woman that I interviewed, Carmel Clark, she's the one who actually performed my sessions for me. She's amazing. I love her so much. I believe she has a wait list to be worked with, but she's incredible. And EMDR therapy is a beautiful therapy that uses eye movements to help release trauma that was unprocessed from the brain and the subconscious body. So as we're doing the work, an affirmation would be given to me. And this is more in the beginning prompts before we started the sessions, but I can't think of any right now. Let's say she said, I am a bad person. I know that was a definite yes for me in my body when we went through this work, in revisiting my childhood and my past. I had a strong belief that I was not a good person. I was mean, from some events in my childhood with my family. I was I am the only projector in my family, and it didn't come to too much of a surprise after a year or so of contemplating my own chart and learning about the other designs and the types and things. I kind of knew I was the only projector once I really understood what all of these things meant. I am a splenic projector. I'm open emotionally, and most of my family are emotional generators. My dad's a manifesting generator. My brother's a generator, but he is sacral authority. And yeah, it's just really interesting to look at. But with just some of the chaos and upheaval that my family had to, struggle through a bit, that got us to this beautiful space that we're at now. But through all the things that I was seeing as a child and speaking when I wasn't invited, and that pissed people off. That definitely pissed people off. And I received a lot of projections that allowed me to believe and grab onto the idea that I'm not a good person. I'm not a nice person. I can't express how I feel. I can't share what I see. All these things. A lot of throat chakra stuff. A lot of unworthiness. A lot of isolation that I put myself through. And yeah, it's interesting to go there. And I'm trying to remember where I was going with the EMDR. Okay. Because I knew I was following a thought pattern and I wanted to make sure I circled back. Sometimes with an open head, this happens. I've been working on my just in expanding and improving my communication for consciously for a couple of years now, maybe 3 years now. And more and more and more, I'm witnessing myself improving on not getting lost in the open head thought patterns that can pop in, because sometimes we could totally follow all of them. And um, I feel like open head people understand, and my defined head people are like, honey, come back to earth. So there you go. There's some more HD wisdom for you. But EMDR and then the affirmations, and I am a bad person. So I remember when I was being offered these affirmations, and the woman said, be honest with yourself. She said that to me, many times. This is for you. The more honest you can be, excuse me, the more honest you can be with yourself, the greater this work will impact your life and be embodied. So it was interesting. It was an interesting experiment, because when I would say an affirmation, I would get to witness and just feel, close my eyes and feel. Like when I would say I'm going to do it right now, honestly. I'm a bad person. Mm. See, I don't think that that's there anymore, but when I did this last year, I think it was a year ago, I would tell her, mm, my conscious mind says no, but I definitely can feel that my body says yes. And then she would say, where in your body do you feel that? And I would say, my heart, my lungs, my back, whatever. It's a wonderful experiment that you could even try with friends, like say these affirmations, or even by yourself in front of the mirror, and look at yourself and say these things to look at what is still in there. Because these are the things that are blocking us from love and abundance, right? When our hearts closed off with these shame stories, we can't receive in any capacity. We can't receive relationships. We can't receive any form of abundance. I'm not sure what that word means to you. When I say abundance, I don't just think about money. I think about freedom and connection and relationships and experiences, and just all of it, all of the loving things that can be called into my life to enrich my life. So yeah, I mean, that's really what this work takes, to be able to transmute these things and to rise above and return back to who we really are. Because I know I did this. I definitely held on to a lot of identities because I was clinging to something, because I needed something to cling to, because I felt that if I didn't grasp onto something so tightly, then I might just disappear and fade away. I really had to surrender in this work, to shed everything I thought I knew about myself since my awakening has started. And I feel like that's a a part of it. We have to be willing to release the identity of who we think we are, and just be open to be expanded, because maybe who you think you are is who you are, and that's fucking beautiful. Like, then if you can surrender and be open to it and have that awareness, then you come back and you realize you knew who you were all along. But when we can be open and surrender and say, is that me? Like, let's look at this. Like, oh, wow, I didn't know that truth was there. Oh my gosh, I didn't understand. I was so triggered by this thing that this person did. Like, why could that be? Like, you know, what's coming up from my family and my childhood. And, this can all be brought through in journaling. There's so many amazing different type of healing modalities and work that can bring this forward, like Reiki can absolutely reveal truths and provide guidance in this way. I'm going to plug myself in here. If anyone's interested in Reiki, I am offering remote sessions, so you can head to desertmoonyogi.com to experience the gift of this work that I'm so honored that I have the ability to offer to all of you. But hypnotherapy, EMDR therapy, rapid transformational therapy. I interviewed a woman who did this work as well, and there's so many valuable, wonderful tools that can bring awareness to what's going on in the subconscious body. If the human design chart isn't supportive enough for you, like, please reach out to people for support. But I really feel like what started to shift my ability to even expand and grow the most was when I entered into Quantum Collective, and I was held in such a beautiful container there, and was given just the permission to show up and share what I was still sitting with and having a hard time with, and all my insecurities. I mean, it was so terrifying when I entered into Quantum Collective. As as beautiful and dreamy as I make it sound, which it is, it's an absolute dream. It's an absolute dream to be a part of this. That it's just nothing I would have ever expected. But then again, I'm on the cross of the unexpected. I mean, if you look at my resume, it's all over the place. So I feel like that's the unexpectedness of the Splenic Projector and the third line of just being pulled sporadically into these new pathways. And it's fun. It's fun. But yeah, so total right angle cross of the unexpected fashion is how I got pulled into Quantum Collective. Like, I had no idea that that was possible for me, but the container that Brandy set up was just absolutely amazing and so supportive. And I was terrified because I'm there with these older women who I feel are so amazing and I look up to, and I'm like, oh my God, like, how could they even like me? I'm like so afraid to speak and be judged. I was so afraid of being judged. I was so afraid of being vulnerable, and just so afraid of being vulnerable. And really, the only thing that can open us up to being more vulnerable and to accepting more love and support is doing it. The more we do it, right? Like, I mean, it's just like experimenting with human design. The more that we experiment and use the tools, the less scary it gets each time. And I know that that doesn't happen overnight. I know that. I've lived that. I understand that. But the only way we can really nurture those fears is to be vulnerable about them and speak them up and speak our truth, and be honest with ourselves, be honest in our words to other people, and listen to our bodies and what we need and our desires. And when we listen to our body, we are led to the right people and the right experiences. And when we're around the right people and the right environments, we feel safe to speak and to share this truth. And it's yeah, it's interesting, and that's why human design has helped me. People always say, like, listen to your body, and I'm like, well, how the fuck do I do that? So, like, when I think that's my first line of wanting that foundation of, like, you're just saying listen to the body, like, well, how the fuck do we do that? Like, give me the foundation, show me how to do it. So I am that foundation builder, and I love it. And that's what human design did for me. It showed me the how the fuck. It gave me the how the fuck. It said, this is how the fuck you do this. Obviously, it didn't say that in those words, but I think I'm funny in this moment. So I'm just being my goofy self. So, but it really does. The chart says, okay, you're feeling triggered. Beep, 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 beep. Let's look at where and why and how this could have came up and what chakra it relates to and like what it means here. And, all those little pieces that you're looking at in the chart when you're going through a trigger, um, they that's what gives you the clues. That's what helps you go back to those memories and reparent yourself and bring those beautiful things to the surface, you know? And so when I say I am my authentic self, I mean it now. I mean it now because you guys, when I made my website and launched it, like I made it yesterday, I launched it today. Well, I launched it last night, but I announced it today and I had so much anxiety. Like so much anxiety about it. And I was just like, oh my God, what am I doing? What if people, all those thoughts started flooding in, right? But when I posted the website, I was so incredibly excited about it. I was so excited. I did a Reiki blessing on it. I literally got myself in the vibrational frequency of my highest self, those visions of my highest self that I saw in my Reiki attunement, that I know, that I felt, that I experienced, that I know was me. And yeah, I have to keep pulling myself back and reminding myself, like, that's not who I am anymore. And that's okay. And we can send love to those voices. We can send love to those voices and those fears, send love to them. We don't have to give our power away to them ever, ever. We have the power. We don't have to give our power away to the voices in our head. We don't have to give our power away to the people in our lives or to the world, to society, to anything. So when we experience a trigger and we point the finger outwards, or we say, this person did this to me and this is all their fault. I mean, we're giving our power away, because what we're actually saying is, this person has power over me. I am powerless. And that's not true. That's absolutely not true. I mean, it's not true. And same thing with, all the stuff going on in the collective right now and in the government and everything we're not okay with in this moment. I mean, it's beautiful that we're questioning things and talking about these things, but to say that they control us and to blame the other says that we are powerless, and that is not true. So all of these tools of arriving in presence and living in presence, which is, in my opinion, what human design leads us towards, because when we are in our body, we are in presence. And human design translates being in the body as following our strategy and authority. That is presence. And the human design says, when we follow our strategy and authority, we are in our authenticity. We're not being pulled into the frequency of another and letting it take power over our lives. And that's what human design is really showing us, how to do, and everything. It's giving us everything. It's showing you, like, hey, you have the power. This is who you are. Question everything else that says that you're not this chart, and contemplate it and learn the lessons. And that's what human design is really here to show us, is those lessons. And it's giving us the little nuggets, the little breadcrumbs, and a literal map and guide of how to get there. And it's just amazing, you guys. Sometimes I just I trip out when I study human design so much, but I trip out sometimes, just I just trip out. I'm like, how do we know this as humans? Because this is just me, because I've experimented with this system and I've seen it really change my life. And no one ever has to care about it or believe in it. I love you and I so honor your truth. If human design isn't something that is for you, that's totally okay. But I do feel like it trips me out sometimes how accurate it is. And I'm just like, oh my God, we have this literal guide of why we're here and why this happened and how to get out of it. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I'm so grateful to be a part of this work. to offer this gift being able to guide my clients through looking at the mirrors, and being honest with themselves, and being willing to look at these things that are actually really hard. Some of them are painful. It's hard to go there. It's really hard to go to these spaces. So I just want to honor every single one of you who is on the human design journey, because I know that it's very deep work, and I know that in that depth there is room for suffering, and I know that, and I honor that, and you're so valid in anything that you may be having a difficult time shifting through. So I just really want to honor you. And even if you don't fuck with human design, like, I honor you as well, because you guys, it's hard to be a human. It's hard to live here. This is just such a crazy time in many ways, and we're all going through so much, and we're all being asked to really look at things that we didn't know were there and are a little bit scary sometimes, on just the life journey and the healing journey and the growth journey, whether you know about human design or not. Like, it's not easy to be that honest and to look at yourself in that way. And that's why now, when I meet someone for a human design session, I make sure that I require my clients to book a discovery call with me first, because um human design is it's I mean, it requires that honesty, and it requires that commitment from the person approaching me. I'm not here to I can't do the work for you. I mean, I could teach you a year of human design, but if you're not willing to look at yourself and be honest with yourself, like, it's not going to be a tool that you're going to enjoy. I mean, maybe, but in my opinion, in the work that I do and the way that I work, it's like, yeah, you have to be willing to look at some stuff, and I know that that is challenging, and I know it takes so much strength, and I just honor every single one of you for being here today. Thank you for listening to me. I had honestly no idea what I was going to talk about. I really thought more information from my chart would come through, like some of my aspects. I know we touched a little bit on the third line. Mm, we talked about the open head a bit, and my cross of the unexpected. But I will add my chart to to the Instagram. So if anyone wants to see my chart, just go to at Beyond the Bliss podcast on Instagram and swipe, and you'll see my chart there. So if you want to look at what I've got going on under my hood, feel free. You may learn something from just, you may be able, I mean, especially if you've been experimenting, you might be able to just look at my chart and listen to me speak, and be able to point things out, which is always fun. And the more I learn and the more I embody, when I can actually point something out, I'm like, oh my God, it's stuck, 'cause it takes a while for it to stick down into the body. It's crammed in the headspace for quite some time until it can really be understood in a more on a more cellular level, like lower into the body. So I will drop my chart there. If you're watching on YouTube, the chart is always going to be in the beginning. Um, and yeah, I feel like this is a great time to just wrap it up and to end. I'm so grateful that you guys are here listening. Thank you so much for receiving me. It feels absolutely amazing. I do really hope, I know that I will be sharing more about my stories. I do want to get a little more vulnerable with the help of the women on my team at Quantum Collective, who are here as Beyond the Bliss podcast hosts whenever their bodies move them to. We really honor that in the Quantum Collective of, there's no expectation, there's no shame, there's no worry if you can't make it to something, or you don't want to do something. I mean, Brandy has just set up such a beautiful container for us to really live the life of the human design experiment. So just being in that free space of knowing that, like, I don't ever have to be obligated to do something, and that divine selfishness is the only thing that's expected from my coworkers, is just such a blessing. And I'm excited for the time when that shows up in more spaces in the corporate world, which Quantum Collective is already popping into the corporate space. So we're getting there, guys. We are moving forward into all of us having the permission to be our authentic selves and to follow our body and to follow what feels good and to not have to shame someone or take something personally and then project onto them because their decision offended us, right? And if it does offend us, cool. That's amazing that now we learned there's another trigger we get to look at. Let me pull out my chart and figure this one out. So thank you for being here. New episodes every new moon, every full moon. If you want to get in touch with Beyond the Bliss podcast, I have an Instagram. It's only there for episode updates. So that's at Beyond the Bliss Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. You can go to beyondtheblesspodcast.com to leave a review, to fill out a contact form, to listen to episodes. Desert Moon Yogi is now live. That's my website, so you can see my services and get connected with me. I have a sound healing event coming up on June 3rd for anybody who is in the Las Vegas area. Just check out my website. You can connect with me at Desert Moon Yogi on Instagram and Facebook as well. I'm very active on Instagram. I love connecting with all of my followers. I have so many friends that I've never met in person. Like, seriously, I have so many friends that I don't know, just even when I'm having a difficult time. I have a beautiful friend in Hawaii I met through the podcast, and you know, the women I did my online Reiki attunement with, and women all over the country from my functional medicine online health coaching program, and just so many social media friends that I literally, you guys are amazing. Like, I've reached out to so many of them online and they've just been so supportive. So like, I love meeting new people, whether you live here or not. I'm always here and willing to just help you, you know, to provide any resources or just answer any questions you have. Like, I'm very approachable, so please don't ever feel like you can't reach out to me. Like, I am here. I'm here always. If you go to Quantum Collective on Instagram, it's going to be at quantum_collective. And from there, you'll be able to see like everyone else's account. So that would be Brandy. She's Brandy.wisdomkeeper. Lynette would be Lynette06. And then Chelsea is I am Chelsea Pierce. So I'm so excited to just be back at season 2. I'm so grateful to still have this audience. I love all of you so much. Thank you for being here and for expanding this community more and more every single time. I just this is a projector, right? I could sit here and just recognize you guys and honor you guys and say what all the beautiful things I see forever and ever. And I actually feel very energized right now. So I'm going to go ahead and say there must be a lot of generators listening because time's an illusion, right? Everything's happening at the same time. And I'm definitely feeling the buzzing. I'm a projector. So when I am around generators, I feel like I snorted Red Bull, if that's even possible. So I feel your energy. I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you so much for receiving me. I love you all so much. And you know the drill. I'll see you next time.